Hello and welcome back to Parc Fermé Parlay with Kieran Downey. It's race week, it's Azerbaijan Grand Prix week, and we are here to make our predictions for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I love the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I think it's one of the most interesting to watch. I think it's just a lot of fun, to be honest with you. I do have a sour taste in my mouth, and that is just because I can't play it on the game. I can't do it. So me and Azerbaijan, we have a fraught relationship, but I love this Grand Prix. Absolutely love it. But let's get into our predictions for this weekend, and we're going to kick things off with pole position. I'm going with Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, pole position in Baku. Listen, that man loves Baku. He said it. His on-track performance proves it, apart from the whole I am stupid incident. He just loves it. His ability and performance in qualifying and his ability just to drive to the absolute limit during a qualifying session pays off in Baku. If you think about it, I think it was 2021 when he was in a car that should not have been on pole position and he stuck it on pole. Was it last year when that Ferrari car wasn't that great, to be honest, and he matched Max's qualifying time when Max was in the most dominant car? I'm putting it down. I'm putting it Charles Leclerc pole position. 1, he loves Baku. 2, that car is pretty decent in high speed. Those upgrades worked very well in Monza. They weren't the fastest car, but they were fast. Baku, very high speed. Obviously quite different to Monza, but it's a high speed track. I'm putting it in. Charles Leclerc, pole position, and the crowd goes wild. Me, I'm the crowd. I will be going wild. So yeah, I'm locking it in. Charles Leclerc, pole position. I believe in him. I believe in Ferrari. It's going to be another great weekend for Charles Leclerc. Okay, moving on to P3 for the race, and I am locking in Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar Piastri is going to have a solid weekend. Listen, that McLaren, we know it's fast. I think Oscar's an incredible driver. He's not as good as Lando. I think the experience that Lando has gives Lando that bit of an edge on Oscar. But I think Oscar's going to have a great weekend. The McLaren's quick, Oscar's quick, he's a great driver. There we have it. I think it's lining up to be a good weekend for him, to be honest with you. P2 for the race, and I wrote down my predictions, and now I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, do I go full delusion, or do I go with my head, or do I go with my heart? Oh, I feel like I'm going to have to go with my head. My heart says otherwise, but my head saying that P2 will be Charles Leclerc. I think we're going to have a tasty little fight for P1, to be honest, but I do think that who will get P1 will just have the slight edge because they have the quickest car. As I said, I think Charles Leclerc is going to have a good weekend. As I said, he loves Baku. The car's suited to that track. I'm holding out for good things, and I'll take a podium for Charles Leclerc. In my heart, he's winning the race. In my heart, I'm here on Monday. We're doing our post-race debrief. He's already won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. That's what my heart says. My head says P1 will be Lando Norris. As I said when I was speaking about Oscar, the McLaren is the fastest car. There's no doubt about it. And if you don't think that to be true, you're wrong. It's the fastest car. Lando is the more experienced driver between the two of them. And I think that after what happened in Monza, I don't know, I've seen the rumours and I've seen all the talk that McLaren are going to be putting in team orders to help Lando, secure this championship. Whether that is true, I don't actually know. However, what happened between Oscar and Lando in Monza, I think has changed Lando, to be honest with you. I think it has changed his mindset. And, after the race last week, he'd said, I don't want to win races because my teammate's been told to let me through or anything like that. He wants to win races on his racing. Fantastic. And I do think that he's going to become a little bit more ruthless. I think the naivety and the innocence maybe of Lando might disappear from this weekend on, because I think he is now, I think he's just going to be a bit of a changed man, and he is going to be a little bit more brutal and ruthless on track, which I've kind of been wanting for a while. I think he concedes things maybe a bit too easily. Probably going to get slandered for that, but yeah, I just think there's going to be a change in Lando this weekend, and he's going to be a bit more brutal. I do think that will give us some spicy fights between him and Charles Leclerc, maybe even him and Oscar. I think Lando Norris is, this is what I'm saying in my head, I think when you look at everything, how fast that car is and what Lando can do in the car, I think you would be stupid to bet against Lando for winning the Grand Prix. The same kind of way that if this was 2023, you'd be stupid for saying Max isn't going to win the Grand Prix because of his track record. Lando's track record is obviously not the same. He's won 2 races this year. And, you know, I've seen the stats of how many times he's lost a place at the opening of a race on like the first lap. And, you know, he's not actually gained any places on the first lap and all this kind of stuff. I've seen those stats. I can't remember what they are exactly. So in that sense, it maybe does kind of fight against him, but I just think you would be stupid to bet against Lando, to be honest with you. So I'm locking it in. Lando will win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. That's what my head says. As I said, my heart goes for Charles Leclerc, but I'm using the noggin, and I'm putting Lando Norris to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Moving on to some other predictions for the race, and I'm going to kick things off with Franco Colapinto. I think he's getting a point this weekend. I was very impressed with his performance in Monza. That man has come in at the 11th hour, and he's just there for vibes. General risen things up. I think he's great. I'm loving Colapinto. I think he's got a point this weekend coming for him. His performance in Monza was class. I think he's going to have another great weekend. Do I think he'll beat Alex Albon? No. I don't think he'll perform better than Alex Albon. So in turn, Williams double points this weekend. Maybe a P9, P10. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Next is McLaren, and whether or not I think they're going to put team orders in. I don't, to be honest with you. And I don't think they will, because of how many times it's been said over, especially last weekend and previously from Zach Brown and everyone else, we've got 2 number 1 drivers, and they got slated by Will Buxton and Nico Rosberg. Like, they're going to lose everything if they don't put some kind of team order in, and I completely agree with it, but I just don't think they will. And like Nico Rosberg said it and Will Buxton said it, that, you know, maybe there's something in Oscar's contract, because Mark Webber famously hated being number 2. So maybe there is. Maybe Webber's like, slap that in. I don't know, but I don't think McLaren will put it in. And I think that is as much of a reluctance of McLaren to do that, and maybe a bit of a fight back from Lando, saying, I don't want you to do that because I want to do this on my own. I want to prove I can do it. And it'll be interesting to see this weekend if Oscar does manage to get ahead of Lando at any one point and it's looking a bit spicy. Will they swap the drivers around? Will they do team orders? I don't know. I don't think they will, but I will be keeping an eye out for that. My next prediction will be Perez has an alright weekend. And it's very vague, because had this been 2023 and we were then talking about the Perez maybe coming back in performance, his performance coming back from falling off a cliff, I would have said, you know, he's going to get P4, maybe a podium, because, you know, that car's really quick and all this kind of stuff. I've kind of changed my opinion a little bit on the Perez, Max, Red Bull situation. And I actually think that Red Bull's just a bad car, to be honest. At first, I kind of thought the car's all right. It's not as good as last year's, but it's still a good car. Perez is just a bad driver. I've changed my mind. On it. I actually think that Red Bull's not a decent car at all. I think what Perez is doing in that car is actually what quite a few people would manage to do with that car. I don't think it's fast. I think it's really hard for them to handle. I mean, you've heard it. You've heard both the drivers saying that they're struggling to control this car. The drivers are struggling with, and Perez is just doing what that car is capable of doing. But Max's skills and ability is he's just hauling that. He's driving the wheels off it to put it into places that car actually shouldn't be. So yeah, I've kind of switched my mindset on it. But I do think that Perez might actually have a bit of a better weekend than what we've expected. He didn't have a terrible weekend in Monza. He was only a couple of places off Max, but then also the times were pretty different. He's actually very good at Baku. He's the king of the streets, as they call him. And I think he'll have a decent weekend. I think he'll do all right in Baku. I don't think he'll outperform Max. I think we're looking at a fairly similar situation maybe to Monza, where he's maybe a couple of positions behind Max, but I don't think the times will be as big this weekend. Next is Ollie Bearman. Ollie Bearman. So Kevin Magnussen obviously got a race ban. Haas has confirmed that Ollie Bearman will be replacing him this weekend for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, before Kevin makes a return in Singapore. And I'm going to say that Oliver Bearman qualifies P13. I'm sticking it as a P13, and I think he'll finish... It's hard. I don't think he'll score points this weekend. I would love him to score points. I really would. I'd really love him to get some points on the board, but I don't think he will, and I think he will finish maybe P12. Highest P12. But that is everything from us for our Azerbaijan Grand Prix predictions. I'm very excited for this weekend. I love the Azerbaijan Grand Prix so much. I really, really do. And I'm excited to see what happens. As I said, I'll not be here after practice or qualifying, but I will be back for a post-race debrief after the Grand Prix. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. I hope you enjoy all the action this weekend. I will see you after the race. Have a lovely rest of your day. Love ya. Bye.